how you doing? I've been going through my pockets and unfortunately no, I didn't find any money, but I found a load of post-it notes that I use to jot down ideas I have. In particular, I want to go through some of the ideas I've got on lighting products that I'd like to see in the future. It's just random ideas, you know, they may or may not work. I put a few lines into a recent gig log and got quite a lot of feedback on that. So I just want to take that a little bit further. I would appreciate your thoughts on lights you'd like to see in the future, or stage products that you'd like to see. You know, we've seen some of the Scrim King type products out there. Now, I can totally understand where people are coming from. What worries me, we're going to end up all looking the same. So I'd like a much bigger choice of ideas and products out there. Anyway, we're going to have to suffer some of my sketching. If you've seen it before, you know it's worse than, well, actually my children are much better at sketching than me, but at least it will give you an idea of what I'm trying to narrate my ideas on. We'll go over now to a different part of the room, and the dreaded post-it notes, loads of bits of information, probably a load of it will be rubbish, but you know, it'll give us some ideas. Okay, anyway. Bit of paper, but the pen's a good one. A friend of mine bought me this, Chelsea Football Club pen. Wow. Right, the first one on the list. You know all those shelving units and that you get, that you put together? Do you remember the old lighting boxes that we used to get? You know, you'd have a bit of perspex at the front here. Can you see that? I hope you can. Oh, it's a box with a crossing. Wow. But do you remember the lighting boxes that they had big pygmy bulbs in the back and opaque plastic at the front? Well, there's a lot of options now with LED lighting. What about to keep the price down and perhaps the storage for the shops a lot better, that a self-assembly version of some of these boxes? And I had one that was, back in the past, it was quite a thin plywood box, and it had, I don't know, 6-inch coloured tubes that went round like this. Now that doesn't seem very exciting, but when that was sound to light and it would scan round this way, scan round this way, it's quite a good centerpiece for the front of your main setup. Now if you put that together yourself, and these were LEDs, now how much can that be? Alright, the manufacturer initially would be expensive, but anyway, that's one idea. Well, the Chelsea pen's not quite doing it, so over to the heavy permanent marker. Now when you've set your table up, we've seen loads of table toppers and various versions of star cloths, etc, etc. What about a table topper that's made up of something a little bit more solid? It might have hinges so that you can fold it up, but that has built-in LED lighting, something like that. So it would be very effective, easy to carry around because it would fold on these seams. So what would it be? A couple of feet there, a couple of feet there, a couple of feet there, and then at the side it would go to the side a couple of feet. I don't know. It's an idea. Table toppers with LED lighting. Perhaps I've seen quite a lot of bigger star cloths, but what about some sort of skirt with the LEDs in as well? Right, we'll get rid of this. God, what does this look like? It looks like a spider's crawled across with inky legs. One that I thought would be a good idea, it may or may not be, it might cost too much to manufacture, but you know those screens that people use for projecting films onto, and they come, you know, perhaps on a tripod, and then they have a container here, and they have a back pole, and then they pull up the screen. Projection screen, isn't it? That's what I was looking for. What about using that sort of technology though, and making it much longer so that you can put it behind you? Perhaps, I don't know, let's be sensible, 6 foot, 8 foot, something like that. This would be on the ground. Again, 1 or 2 poles that, you know, they could be lying flat in here, and then you put them up, and then you pull up the screen from here So that would be behind you. Build in some LED uplighting. I hope I'm explaining this well enough. You then have your back cloth with backlighting that could be sound to light, or you could just choose the colour, all in one system. At the end of the night, this just folds down and you just end up with your 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot case to transport. Yet another idea. You're probably going to think, what a load of rubbish, but I don't know, I think it's time to move on. What we're seeing a lot of now is the same type of lighting being produced as was 20 years ago, but with LED, which is great, exciting stuff, but time to put this would be perhaps on a roller of some description. And that actually made me think that you could do the topper like that as well. 6 foot case, you sit on the front of the table on a roller, you pull it up, and you could have small LEDs just lighting that up from behind. Perhaps it could be back projectable. I've also talked about, I mean, one of my favourite lights is the Revo 3. He's upscaling it, making it much bigger. Somebody said, oh, don't you think we've done to death the LED dots? But instead of, you know, a dot being that big, imagine if the dot is 3 or 4 times the size of that. Just upscale it with the higher wattage LEDs, and also I've been quite surprised. I thought with the way LED technology, somebody out there would have started doing speaker stands with LEDs built in. Perhaps if they were RGB, sound to light, be something different. You wouldn't need those dirty laundry sheets over the top of them, would you? And also your T-bars and your goalposts with built-in LEDs, or a simpler kit, a kit that you can buy that's just the right size to fit LED strips to this. You know, bringing on the old design when we used to have rope lights, perhaps that sort of idea. As you can see, my drawing's not brilliant, but gives you some ideas that just goes through my mind. I've still got loads of these. Not so much to do with the lighting, but wouldn't it be nice now that if when you bought some equipment it came with a bag or a case with it? You know, yes, you would have to pay for it anyway, we understand that, that would be built into the price, but being that you're guaranteed to sell the case, well, perhaps you can do something in the price then to make it more attractive. I just think that if you bought a standalone LED light, it'd be nice if it was in a paddy case. It's an idea. Media controllers, somebody said to me that a lot of media controllers coming out. It would be nice for a standalone media controller with a plug, just to plug a monitor in the back. Away you go, you don't need a laptop, etc. Now, to get to that stage, I mean, if you look at Pioneer, I think they've got something similar. You're talking about quite a lot of money. I'm sure it'll come, but you know, you're going to have to pay for it, definitely. Speakers, bit of new technology. When I first started 30 years ago, 30 years this year I've been DJing, you know, speakers you could just about lift off the floor. Let some of the cheaper manufacturers bring on the newer technology that HK and EV and a lot of those higher end manufacturers are using, so that you can take to a gig, you know, a 10-inch speaker, powered speaker, and it's not going to break your back. Also the MOSFET technology in amplifiers, I'd like to see that move over to the powered speakers as well, making the powered speakers much lighter. That stands and goalposts, perhaps now a cheaper version of the ones that go up automatically. We've seen the pneumatic ones. Perhaps with the technology we've got in rechargeable drills and things, there should be an electric version. You know, a button on the side makes it go up, a button makes it go down. Yes, we know money, but you know, things need to move on. A lot of this equipment I'm seeing rebadged and re-churned out. We were seeing years ago. This isn't a moan, by the way. I'm just putting information out. I'll love your feedback, and hopefully perhaps the odd manufacturer might find it at some stage and think, oh yeah, that's a good idea, let's look at that. Your idea is always appreciated. This is just a little video to get the juices running. till next time, a few other things coming out soon. Got some equipment reviews coming up. Until then anyway, DJs, as always, stay mobile.